What's going on, guys? Colton Posey here today, and I want to talk to you about deep diving crankbaits, how I use them, my setup, the whole 9 yards. So stay tuned and we're going to get right into this. Alright guys, now we're going to talk about things like the 6XD. Now they make a version all the way up to the 10XD that dives 25 feet plus, which it revolves around the same concept as the 6XD. What you want to do is make sure you get a super long cast. I mean, as far as you can cast. Get that bait down as fast as possible. So I'm literally burning that crankbait until it gets to the bottom. As soon as it makes bottom contact, first thing I do is slow way down. I try to make it crawl over everything. I'll make about 4 or 5 casts like that. If I do not get bit, I do the same thing. I'll make a really long cast, burn it down, but once it hits bottom, I keep burning it. I make sure it's pulling through all that gravel and dirt, clay, I mean, whatever you're fishing. I just make sure that it's reflecting off stuff real hard, and if I don't get bit on that, then I move on to the next location, use the same thing. But this is for depths anywhere from 15 to, which I use 12-pound fluorocarbon, so it'll go down to about 23, 24 foot. So the 6XD is a great versatile crankbait for any type of deep water fishing, rocks, clay points, anything like that. Then you've got the 5XD. The 5XD, it's the same. It dives really fast. It just doesn't go as deep. You're looking at about 15 foot on it. Same concept. I get it down to the bottom as quick as I possibly can. Slow roll it. Try to get it to reflect off everything, so on and so forth. Then you've got one of my favorite. This is what you call a Series 4. Okay, the Series 4 are the Series Strike King crankbaits. What they're made to do is go through heavy cover. So if I'm fishing in the middle of a river system, it's got some trees sticking up out of the water or anything like that, I'll make that cast with this. It doesn't have to be necessarily super long, but I want to make sure that I'm not interrupting anything within that piece of cover. I'll slow roll it or burn it depending on the time of the year. You know, summer you want to move fast, colder months you want to move slower. And I'm trying to make the bill of that crankbait hit whatever type of cover I'm fishing and reflect off of it. 9 times out of 10, that's where your strike's going to come. And the same with the Series 3. You're looking at about an 8-foot depth. And if you can't tell, I use a Series 3 a lot. This thing is just about wore out. I just had to show it to y'all. So Series 3s, Series 4s, Series 5s, anything like that, that's for heavy cover. You want to slow roll that crankbait, make it bump off cover. If it's really hot or early in the morning, something like that, and the fish are very active, I burn it. I mean, as fast as I can. I want this crankbait going crazy. I want it going off to the side instead of just being a straight pattern back to the boat. And just always remember with your deep diving crankbaits, burn it till it hits bottom, slow down once it hits bottom. Make 4 or 5 casts like that if you don't get bit. You know, speed up that retrieve, slow it down a little more. I mean, you just have to kind of play with them and figure out your own thing. But what you can learn from all this is you want to make contact with something at all times when you're fishing crankbaits, and I guarantee you'll catch more fish. Alright guys, so now I'm going to talk about the most important thing, and that's my setup. The first thing that I want is a loose speed spool. I want it to hold a lot of line for them extra long casts. And the gear ratio, this is one of the most important things to me. I don't want a high speed gear ratio, and I don't want one that's super slow. I want something kind of in between. That's the reason I choose a 6:4 to 1. The reason is if I want to speed it up, I just reel faster. If I want to slow it down, I just slow down. So it's real simple. It helps me with a long extra cast speed. I can speed it up, slow it down, whatever I need to do. And the biggest thing is the rod. I want something that when my crankbait gets down there to the bottom, or the piece of cover that I'm hitting, I want to be able to feel everything. I want to know for sure that it's a bite before I set the hook if I possibly can. And the way I do that is with the Impulse Energy rod. It is a 7-foot cranking rod, specifically designed for crankbaits and hard baits, really any kind of hard baits. But what this is a glass graphite composite rod. What that means is the backbone right here is super stiff, but the tip of this rod is super flimsy. And what that does, when I go to set the hook, when this rod loads up and those fish hit and I go to set the hook, the rod's not super stiff where I can jerk the hooks out of its mouth. If I got a super stiff rod, a lot of times what happens is they'll short bite it. When they short bite it and you set the hook, you'll jerk it right out of their mouth. I want them to be able to grab it, and then when I go to set the hook, I want to be able to drive that hook. But a lot of times when those fish go to running and I start reeling, they'll set the hook on themselves. So try that out. If you're using a rod that is super stiff, get on impulserods.com and check out the Energy series. You can go to Technique Specific and check out the crankbait rods. This is the Energy series. They also got the Zell Rolling and Randy Haynes. Check them out. Great prices, great product. So that's my setup for Deep Diving Crankbaits. We appreciate you.